The Panthers did it again to the Carolina Hurricanes. Down by 2 goals, and the Panthers came back and got the win.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, December 24th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and we are your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez, the host of the show, and you can follow me on X at Moneyman12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. That is Jacob Winans joining me on another edition of Winans Wednesday. You could follow him on X at JakeW_8. Shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. You can do that all on FanDuel. So the Florida Panthers defeated the Carolina Hurricanes by a final score of 5-2, but we're down 2-0 and only registering 8 shots on goal through the first 40 minutes. And it looked like that the Panthers were going to limp a little bit to the holiday break, as this was a team that looked lifeless, but a line change for the Panthers with the middle six and a Paul Maurice rant on the bench prior to the intermission had the Panthers turn it around. 4 goals in a span of 10 minutes, doubling the amount of shots, and the Panthers exploded once again against the Carolina Hurricanes in the second multi-goal comeback against Carolina in a span of 5 days. And man, Jacob, the Panthers did it again. Can you believe it? Because I was convinced that the Panthers were not going to come out on top, and then boom. It was a complete 180 in the third period.
Yeah, I mean, I even said in our game chat that we keep going that the Panthers were already on holiday break at the end of that second period. I thought the first 2 periods really didn't have much energy, didn't seem all that interested in playing a game today. And then Paul Maurice changed that pretty quick. You could see him on the bench getting animated and kind of ripping into the team a little bit, which we've seen him do rarely. But when he does, it usually yields results. It's funny on the broadcast when they showed the conversation he was having on the bench with the team. Randy Moeller was like, "It's not anger; it's just Paul Maurice getting trying to get the team going." And my first thought was, that looks like anger. He looks pretty frustrated with the way they're playing. Got his point across clearly, and they came out and looked like a completely different team in the third period. But to answer your question, you said, "Can you believe it?" Yes, because it's Carolina. The Panthers have had their number. Second time in a week, they've made a huge comeback in the third period to bury them. So not all that surprising given the opponent, but still huge morale boost heading into the break.
And third time by a Florida team, because Tampa Bay also did it the very next night that the Panthers did it from Friday to Saturday. And to think that the Panthers, like I said at the beginning, very lifeless for them, which the Panthers were having a hard time with just connecting and gaining the red line. And even just getting out of their own end, the Panthers were trying to do a lot of those drop pass plays in their own end that led to these quick rushes. I remember there was one specifically that Svechnikov had on when the Panthers and the Canes went on that 1 minute and 17 second of 4-on-4 play, and then the amount of times that we saw like the Panthers needing to slide to take away a passing lane on a quick 2-on-1 by Carolina, but also when the Panthers were in the offensive zone, and the Panthers at times were trying to the rim around, and the Carolina Hurricanes were taking away some of those passing lanes in the middle of the ice as well. And when you would see the Panthers going up also the wings, and they were going towards the half wall, you see a Carolina Hurricane player closing the gap. The puck trickles a little bit away a few feet, and then there's there for support to get a quick out. And the Panthers, the only jump that they really had in that first period was one shift out of a TV timeout where they got 2-in-1 off a rebound, and then they went 15 minutes and 42 seconds without a shot. That's usually the Panthers doing that to their opponents. But Carolina, they're built similarly like the Florida Panthers. And, that Aho line was matched up against the Reinhart, Luostarinen, Lundell line. They were keeping them at bay for a good amount of that game right before that third period. So you just couldn't contain the Panthers for long.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the story when you look at this rivalry. Is they're so similar in how they are constructed as a team, and then very similar in style, where it's going to be the aggressive fast forecheck. It's going to be defensive structure. It's going to be the guys activating from the point, aggressive penalty kills, and a defense first mentality, which is not a surprise given that Rod Brindamore is kind of comes from the Paul Maurice coaching tree.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, the thing that's always been missing for Carolina has been the goaltending and the offense to put teams away when they're in that situation. And even with Barkov out, with Tkachuk out, with so many of the guys that the Panthers are missing right now, they still find a way to get the offense, even when Carolina is trying to suffocate them and play that defense first mentality. Carolina just sort of lacks the killer instinct. They don't have a closer really on that team. We thought at times it was going to be Svechnikov. Definitely thought that Seth Jarvis had that gene a little bit and was going to maybe turn into that guy. And they pay big money for Nikolai Ehlers to hopefully have him be that guy. And it just has not really come to fruition. Obviously, they're dealing with some injuries. Jarvis, of course, not playing. They've got a handful of guys out right now, and that definitely plays a role. But at the same time, they're struggling at down the middle. They don't have the center depth that the Panthers do. Even with Barkov out, I still like the Panthers center matchups against Carolina, and they lack that killer instinct, and they lack the physicality and toughness that the Panthers have. They have it a little bit. It's just not on the same level, and you really see that in these games when the Panthers can kind of just flip a switch and run Carolina out of the building almost at will. It looks like.
Yeah. Nikolai Ehlers with one shot on goal. So Sebastian Aho with 0. So that talk about when you need to start to come play. You didn't truly get that, but it was a low event game. I mean, it was 16-8 as far as the shot advantage for the Carolina Hurricanes, but there were so many different opportunities for them to take a lead. There was one deflection after Niko Mikkola got a turnover, turned the puck over that Jordan Stahl tried redirecting, that Bob was able to just lay it. Sorry, it was the Lundell and Reinhart breakout pass that Sergei Bobrovsky just made an incredible glove save there to just lay it out there to at least keep it to a 2-0 deficit at the time for the Panthers. And then the goals that Bob did give up for those two, it's one that you see clearly from Eric Robinson there, and it's just like, okay, that's not the type of goal that the Carolina Hurricanes usually score. And then the other one where it's like where it's right after a penalty kill for the Panthers, and then it's a quick rush where the Panthers were down low, and then it's one of those breakaway opportunities which we've seen so many times that Sergei Bobrovsky, when he's one-on-one, he doesn't stop those often. It went straight to the 5-hole. But even then, the Panthers the drawn penalties that they did have at the end of the first period, they were because of board battles. And I guess that's one thing that you could maybe have seen coming for the Panthers, is the fact that the penalties that they did draw was because of the ability to support there.
Definitely. And I think when you talk about the penalties, one that really stuck out to me wasn't even a power play for the Panthers, but it was just kind of an indicator that the Panthers might be about to drag Carolina into the mental game where they really, really struggle. And it was when Brad Marchand gets tied up with Keandre Miller. And they were going back and forth at each other. It's a coincidental minors. They both go to the box, and we played 4-on-4 hockey. But it just seemed like at that point, the Panthers were starting to get Carolina out of their composure and starting to get them out of character. And the Panthers have had that advantage over Carolina so often in the past few years, especially when it comes to playoff time. When you need the mental edge, the Panthers are more often than not dragging the other team into the mud where they don't want to be, especially at times when, Carolina's got a 2-goal lead. They don't have any reason to get involved in the extracurriculars or take the bait. And Brad Marchand is just an expert at getting people to do it, even when they shouldn't. And I thought that was the early sign that Carolina was losing their composure. And you brought up Bob making a really huge save on Jordan Staal. One that stuck out to me with him keeping the Panthers in the game was the Stankoven breakaway in the second period. Bob struggles at times in one-on-one breakaway situations. Made a huge save on Logan Stankoven to keep that at 2-0. If that save doesn't happen, and if the Jordan Staal save doesn't happen, you're looking at 4-0.
Maybe.
As good as the Panthers are, I know they scored 5 in a row, but it's a whole different game if you're down 4-0. You're probably not really making a serious effort to come back. So Bob did a huge job of keeping them in the game with a couple of miracle saves in that second period, which we've really become accustomed to.
Yeah, and you mentioned Brad Marchand, where holding the stick would have been a Canes power play, and then you get an opportunity to even it up towards the end with losing the composure. And also, let's not forget, at the end of the first period, the Panthers, it was a good 15 to 20 seconds before when they drew the penalty on the delay right before the period ended, that they were able to at least keep the puck and give at least them a little bit of more of that power play time when the time did expire to the second period, even though they didn't really get anything out of it. No shots on goal there. But the key for the Panthers and their ability to just get these 5 goals was the ability to retrieve pucks, and the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes were just so still in their own end. So that was a big factor into how they were able to do it. 5 different goal scorers for the Panthers, mind you, here, and the defense getting activated here. But we're going to discuss more about that as far as this comeback win, where the Panthers scored 5 unanswered to win 5-2 in regulation, and continue it on as we will discuss our 3 stars of the game and the moment when we knew the game was won. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every step, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the nation's #1 sports podcasting network. And if you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's an access to an ad-free audio feed for the Locked On Florida Panthers, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You'll be invited to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes group chats for listeners of the show as well. And I'll be posting there. So check out the link below to learn more. So it's a Florida Panthers win for them as they defeated the Carolina Hurricanes by a final score of 5-2, which means we are going to discuss our 3 stars of the game and the moment when we knew the game was won. So number 3 star for me, I'm going to go with Brad Marchand. I know he only got 1 point, but the fact that he was interactive with the crowd as well, that they were booing him walking out of the tunnel, smiling. There was a performance that the mascot Stormy did, and then it pointed to Brad Marchand. He's blowing kisses to the crowd. But also, a few years ago when Paul Maurice went on his rant in Toronto in March of 2023, this wasn't as animated. I will agree with Randy Moeller and disagree with you, Jacob, there. But just like Matthew Tkachuk, he made eye contact with Paul Maurice and was not afraid to run away from it. So Brad Marchand, a big piece of just that, lifting the emotional spirits of the Panthers. Number 2 star, I'm going to go with Anton Lundell. 4 shots on goal, the game-winning goal for the Panthers, where multiple shots were thrown at Freddie Anderson. He was scrambling, Eetu threw it on, and then Sam Reinhart set him up beautifully to beat him on the short side. And then number 1 star, I'm going to go with Sam Reinhart. Had a tough time with that Sebastian Aho line, but 3 assists, 2 of them primary, And then for the Panthers there, getting that primary as the insurance goal for Seth Jones's power play goal to make it 5-2. But also honorable mention to Coach Maurice on not only the rant, but the switching of the lines, putting the 2 defensemen when they were already up 4-2 for the Panthers there. And just the fact that they continue to have the Carolina Hurricanes just so all over the place and just not have their feet moving. So the Panthers just the pursuit of the puck. We saw 14 shots in the third period. We also saw 14 shots in the second period against St. Louis, although that coming in a loss. But we've seen multiple stretches of how this Panthers team can just flip a game in a switch. So your 3 stars, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm going to start with an honorable mention. I'm going to give one of those to Sam Bennett. I thought especially in that third period, he was flying, absolutely flying in that third period. Gets a goal. But he hit a post in the third. Definitely could have had a second one. And I thought his forecheck, his aggressiveness in that third period was off the charts. So Sam Bennett gets an honorable mention for me. My 3rd star, I'm going to go Sergei Bobrovsky. I know he had gave up a rough one to open the game. Not one that he's probably super proud of. But for every Bob stinker, it seems like there's always a Bob miraculous save, and we talked about it. He had 2 absolute golden saves in that second period to keep the Panthers in it, and that's really all you can ask for from your star goalie. He did a great job of just holding serve when they were already down 2-0, and he shut the door. So Bob is my 3rd star. 2nd star, Anton Lundell, ends up getting the GWG. I thought he was really good again. He's noticeably improved as a skater and in puck possession. It's starting to look eerily similar to number 16. You can see the traits all over his game. You can see the influence of the Panthers captain. Anton Lundell is starting to really come into his own, and he has this ability to score big goals in big moments. And sometimes it's something you can't teach, and Lundell just has it. He seems to elevate his game in the biggest of moments. He's not shying away from more responsibility this year, given the injuries. And I was very impressed with his game tonight. I think he's going to open a lot of eyes. He already has with 2 Stanley Cups at age 24. But come Olympic time, he's going to be a household name. And my number 1 star, Sam Reinhart. Big game for him. I know, he definitely struggled a little bit early on the defensive end. He's very, very solid, but I thought early their line didn't look great in that matchup. But Reinhart just continues to produce, even given the sort of revolving door of line mates he's had this season. He's been asked to be more of a play driver now versus a finisher, where he usually is. Barkov driving play on that line. And early in the season, he really struggled setting up teammates. The goal to assist ratio was not great. Not a lot of assists. Starting to improve now, and 3 assists tonight is definitely going to help in that department. More than a goal scorer, Sam Reinhart. He's one of the best defensive forwards in hockey, and he can definitely pass the puck too.
Yeah. And for Sam Reinhart, just knowing when to take over. And also you mentioned Anton Lundell on the most recent episode of the Road to the Winter Classic. There was a feature on Anton Lundell and Sergei Bobrovsky. And one of the things that they spoke about was how other players on the team now look up to Anton Lundell, and just the fact that he's doing this at 24 years old, just being a veteran now, and how much he's grown up with the Florida Panthers. And we've even spoken about it in recent games about how he's really truly grown up with the franchise for him. So big ups to Anton Lundell and just taking that role. And obviously we spoke about numbers are going to be out of whack. Minutes time on ice is going to be out of whack this season, but man, he's really taking that onto his own, and good for him doing that. But the moment when we knew the game was won, I'm going to go with the Sam Bennett goal that made it 4-2, when the Panthers really truly got that insurance, because it was still a little bit of an initial shock for me when the Panthers did score those 3 goals in 3 minutes and 7 seconds. But then just 2 minutes and 57 seconds later, the Panthers do it again on a little bit of a breakout. it's funny because only 2 players for the Panthers touched the puck there. Ekblad was already way off the ice. He got a secondary assist there, but then the Carolina Hurricanes just couldn't close the gap like they were earlier in the game, and just scrambling around, and then a little bit of a spinorama with the screen, and Freddie Anderson couldn't see that one, and couldn't stop that one as he was under siege in the third period. But your moment when you knew the game was won.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that Ekblad assist there. It's always great when you get a point when you're not even on the ice. That's got to be the best feeling, especially as
Dmitry Kulikov game for Sam Reinhart's game winner in Game 7 when he
one
got
of the
off.
all-time great assists, and no matter what anyone says, he earned that one. With the defensive play. But with that said, I'm going to go bold on mine. I thought moment I thought the game was won, Luke Kunin tying the game at 2-2. It just felt like deja vu for Carolina. It was if I were a Carolina Hurricane in that moment, playing the way they did through 2 periods, and then to come out early in the third and just kind of get shell shocked there, and it's 2-2 after blowing a couple of big third period leads in the past couple of games. I would have lost all confidence if I was a Carolina Hurricane, and that's just me being honest. So I felt like after the game was tied early in the third period, I think as the Carolina Hurricane team, you're just thinking, wow, we're about to do it again. And all it takes is just a little bit of doubt and a little bit of lack of confidence in your play to throw you a little bit off, and the Panthers are going to rip you apart for it. So for me, it was definitely the Luke Kunin goal tied at 2-2. I knew, we're gonna come back and do this again.
You just felt it. You just felt it swinging. It's funny because through 40 minutes, I was looking at the chord sheet for each individual player, and each player on the fourth line did not have a single shot attempt at 5-on-5 through 40 minutes. So that was a big opportunity for them. Credit to Aaron Ekblad for throwing the puck on net with Noah Gregor screening, and then a bouncing puck, and a juicy rebound there as well from Freddie Anderson, and then just knocking into the open net and pouncing. Second goal, I remember his first goal. It was so fresh for me. It was against Vancouver on that board battle against Quinn Hughes, and then just the drive to the net to get that goal there for that line there. So big ups on a big moment, which Luke Kunin has been in and out of the lineup with the state of the injuries and everything, and just trying to get a new look there for the fourth line. But credit to him on getting that score for him. Big moment in the game as far as the Panthers' ability to at least make it a game, and then the Panthers' ability to add on to it, which the Lundell goal was just 43 seconds after. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss the fact that the Panthers are going into a holiday break on a high note, and how much of a difference that will make when the Panthers do return to the ice on Saturday against Tampa Bay. We'll discuss that next on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment number 3 here on this Wednesday, December 24th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And I do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas for those who celebrate, and hope that you guys do have a great time with all of your families. And if you're not watching on the YouTube, Jacob Winans is wearing his Santa hat for today's show. So definitely in the holiday spirit, and also wearing his SpongeBob apparel as well. But you know what's funny? I thought of this one quote from the show is, what could be worse than blowing one 2-goal lead? I got it. 2 blown multi-goal leads, from the episode where they were painting Mr. Krabs' house. So still can't believe it. I still can't believe it happened in just 5 days with this team. But the vibes are good, man. As of right now at 11:22 p.m. on a Tuesday night, only one Eastern Conference team is still in action, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers, which means, according to the standings, the Panthers will finish the holiday break or go into it in a playoff spot. They're not in the top 3 of the division, but they hold the first wild card. And man, the Panthers' ability to rebound after I don't know if I would say that the Blues loss is a scheduled loss, but I always said that it was. I said that how are the Panthers emotionally going to respond just 24 hours later against St. Louis, and how much of a difference that game would have been if it were a 48-hour turnaround versus a 24, because to go to sleep with your adrenaline still going. But the Panthers, the fact that they had 2 days off, they were supposed to practice on Monday, but the broadcast also mentioned, Jacob, about just the fact that rest and recovery was the key to going into tonight's game. And although it took them 40 minutes, that rest and recovery surely worked.
Definitely. And when you look at that Blues game, I thought the way they performed in that one is just an outlier, given it was a back-to-back and the amount of effort and energy and the emotional swings of that Carolina game the night before, and then for it to drag all the way into a shootout as well. And then the second half of the back-to-back, you're on your backup goalie as well. Just a lot of things stacked up in that one where, I didn't look too much into that loss, especially a Western Conference team who you don't really spend a ton of time scouting. You don't spend a ton of time preparing for that game the same way you would an Eastern Conference or an Atlantic Division opponent. That one didn't really mean a whole lot to me. It was all about the bounce back into this one. You knew Carolina was going to come out swinging, given the way the last game went, especially what happened against Tampa for them. They're wanting to come into this game and play a solid 60 minutes. So you knew you were up against it right away. Mackey's out, so you're shuffling lines again. Felt like one of those sort of defining games of the season when you come into this, and it's like, how are we going to look in a tough spot like this? And I think they responded incredibly. So yeah, I think, like you said, the vibes are great going into the break. Not really worried about them being top 3 in the division. Truthfully, wherever they finish, if it's in a playoff spot, anywhere in the playoffs, I think you're playing with house money anyway. You're coming off back-to-back Stanley Cups, and if you finish as a wild card team, I think any team that plays a Panthers team as a wild card that is on a half a season of Tkachuk, so he's not fully worn down, hopefully, and then possibly getting Barkov back. You get Kulikov back shortly before the playoffs. I think if you're a wild card team, you might be even more dangerous and even more scary than if you were a top seed, because the Panthers can come in and steal a game on the road. They've been dominant in the playoffs on the road, so not really pressed about that. The fact that they're in a playoff spot at all, given the way things looked a few weeks ago, pretty insane. This team just continues to prove everyone wrong and write their own story, and prove you and I wrong sometimes, because we were both nearly on the verge of saying this might not be the year, and they just seem to always respond, and you can't teach it. It's something in the DNA of this team and the culture of this franchise,
which we can for sure appreciate, and just the consistent hard work and that's why you re-sign a guy like Brad Marchand even before knowing about the Barkov injury as well, because you need a little bit of that, more of that heartbeat in the room, a guy who will, as Paul Maurice likes to say, a guy who won't shut up as well, and a guy who just fits into the personality of lightening the mood up whenever things aren't going wrong. And just like Aaron Ekblad has said before, with having a guy like Jumbo Joe, even just for one season, about just having no bad days in the rink, and just the fact that the Panthers are playing a kid's game and enjoying it and winning along the way, which you mentioned Matthew Tkachuk and him coming back. There was him and Brady did release the newest episode of Wingmen. It actually released an hour before this game started. I wasn't able to listen to it yet. I will tomorrow, but the social media page did post a graphic from their latest show, and along with a clip there. And what the quote that Matthew Tkachuk said, that quote, "I'm effing feel great. I need to hit someone and I need to get crushed." Close quote. You love to hear it. And he also did say that he is expected to come back and practice, that he is right on track. And it's funny, I did an episode talking about one major hurdle with the lack of practice time, but those 2 days off in between the Montreal game and the Winter Classic, which I'll be able to test out the ice, because breaking news for those listening publicly, I did get approved a credential for the Winter Classic, and there is a media skate, so I will be able to tell you guys myself how the ice feels. So we'll see how Matthew Tkachuk truly feels on that ice when they do practice for the first time at Lone Depot Park. But hey, maybe he gets back even earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's the story to watch for the next week. He's that's not a game he wants to miss. We've talked about it. He's got a flair for the dramatic. He loves the spotlight. That's not one that he's going to want to sit out. And it's funny. We also talked about how I believe it was Barkov who said that he wanted Tkachuk to play a conditioning game in the ECHL. That seems significantly less likely now, given that the league is apparently headed towards a strike. But I think whatever the official return date is for Tkachuk, we know it's right around the corner. And the fact that the Panthers are sitting in a playoff spot when he's getting back, it lessens some of the pressure on him. It's not going to be a situation where he has to come in and save the season. He can sort of slide in and just start contributing and get back up to speed. And his impact is going to be felt all throughout the lineup. Huge offensive weapon, huge emotional boost, huge physical boost. And this, depending on how he looks when he gets back, this might be the first we've seen a fully healthy Tkachuk since the middle of the playoff run in 2023. We really haven't seen 100% Matthew Tkachuk in going on 2 years now. That's super exciting. It's very exciting to think that we might get the fully healthy version of number 19. We hope it stays that way, but it's the fact that they're in a playoff spot and about to get him back, and then if it's at the Winter Classic, the kind of boost that can give to the organization. Watch out to the rest of the Eastern Conference and the rest of the NHL. Things could get pretty scary for the rest of the league pretty fast.
Imagine just hearing his name in the starting lineup for the event as well, which if you're watching this on YouTube, I just posted a photo from George Richards of Florida Hockey Now of him posting a picture of the actual rink that is built. No ice yet, but the boards are up. All the field is covered. And also the rink is a little further south than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be above second base, but the penalty box is actually near where the pitcher's mound is. Wonder how much of the home plate area is going to be tarped off, and it's going to be because the views might be a little bit obstructed there. But I'm just so excited to just hear the announcement of, and if that is his first game back, Paul Maurice has got to do the right thing and putting him in the starting lineup there. You have to do it for that type of event. And you see the dugouts for the Marlins and the away team. The Florida Panthers are on the Marlins side. The New York Rangers are on the visitors side as well. So a little bit of flavor there. And also the outfield had the logo there for the Panthers and the Rangers logo for the Winter Classic. So it's fully transformed, and it's so awesome to see how much quick work that they've been able to do.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and we didn't really know how it was going to end up looking or coming together, and now actually finally seeing it, it's unbelievable. It's almost surreal that we're having this game here in South Florida. It's something that at one time was thought to never be possible, an outdoor game in South Florida. But yeah, I'll definitely be interested to hear how the ice feels and how it plays. You broke that news for me. I didn't even know that pre-recording for anyone listening. I had no idea that that Armando was going to get a little bit of a pre-skate on the rink before the game happened. So we'll all be anxiously waiting to hear your report on the ice quality.
No doubt. I'm very, very excited about that. Just figured that out. Just found that out today, actually. So just wanted to. That was impromptu about announcing it, but hey, very excited for the event. As by the time this episode drops, it'll be 10 days away from it, and we're going to have so much more coverage, especially the week leading up to it. We're going to bring a representative from the NHL to discuss the event as well. And also we are going to be getting together with John Chick of Locked On New York Rangers, Francisco Oporta, Florida Panthers historian. So much to discuss in the week. So make sure that you guys stay subscribed here and come back here to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Three days off as my mic tipped over. 3 days off for the Florida Panthers here in a playoff spot. And man, I'm just so excited that they are in this position. So thank you as always for joining, and tell everybody where they can find you.
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeW_8. And I echo your sentiments. Happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone who celebrates. Enjoy a couple of days off with the Panthers in a playoff spot, and buckle up because the next game is it's Tampa, so it's not getting any easier. Should be some good hockey when we come back.
Yeah, on the day where Matthew Tkachuk says that's the worst skate for everybody. So let's see how the Panthers actually look on that day. But thank you guys as always for listening. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and maybe I'll see you guys on Friday. If not, then I will see you guys on Monday. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Jacob, as well. See you next week.
Absolutely.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows in the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.